Well, in hindsight, I'm quite philosophical about it. It's something I call imaginative play. So I think when you're playful and doing art or solving any problems, you're more intuitive. Intuition plays a big role, and I think that's kind of what happened. I was always painting, and I stumbled upon this polyurethane stuff at a surf shop of all places, and I poured it into this mold and it looked a bit like a mushroom head, so I had a pipe and I made a mushroom. And I kind of left it. I thought, cool, I've got this mushroom. And then the idea develops from there, you know, your mind sort of creates its own ideas, and I thought I'd go stick these up on buildings.
It was almost an accident, really, to be honest. I had a load of work in sculptures, little bronzes in the studio, and I was kind of thinking, well, what am I going to do with these? I had no intention of showing them, even if I had a show. So I put some of them out on the street, and then I realised then that they got more of a reaction than I expected. I didn't expect them to get any reaction at all, really. And then I realised, well, actually, it's a good platform to say something about the environmental message.
I started painting graffiti in 1986. We were in a discount car shop, went and bought some paint, 50p a can, horrible metallic drippy paint, and we just did big kind of really primitive straight letter handwriting tags that we kind of, and a few of us made up our kind of names from, we just started like being creative with it, and some people just made up their own names.
It was really funny because, in London you see that so much inspiration when it comes to street art, especially East part of London, there's so many things, and I always loved it, but somehow I always never thought that I could put it there, and I thought like, well, maybe I could try to put them up there, to people and see what happens.
Probably the first things, because I used to do skateboard, and all around the skate parks in my little hood, some all kids, they start to write names and drawings on the ramps, skate ramps. So I was quite, I don't know, that things attract me. I thought it was cool, and I started to do that thing with some other friends, young guys.
There's a very big difference and sometimes conflict within like the original mainstream graffiti scene, which is extremely underground and has very strong codes of practice. Street art, I think to my mind, it's a very healthy new element. It has allowed for much more diversity. In other words, people who feel they can express themselves in any way they want do express themselves in any way they want.
Graffiti art is typography, basically, so it's lettering. Okay, so that's why graffiti artists have a tag, and graffiti art is based around, putting your tag up and using lettering to, to create, artwork, basically. Street art was originally more kind of illustration, images, different, kind of characters, stuff like that.
Both street and graffiti artists have their foundation in illegal artwork put on the streets. Some have gone on to have successful studio careers, but the foundation of it all is inherently illegal. That being said, the difference of how graffiti and street artists are treated by the police can be very striking.
Yeah, I've been caught 3 times. And the 3rd time, the guy was like, "You're the mushroom man." And he was like, "Between the two of us, I won't write you up." So I think I get off a bit better than the graph guys.
The first time they were really kind of aggressive and upset about the fact I was painting. I was actually just painting a board from scaffoldings. Eventually I got away with it, and they just warned me not to do it ever again.
You get arrested, you usually get handcuffed, so they want to know what you're doing. They search you, they find something, they find paint in your fingers, they arrest you, take you to the police station, get processed. Friends of mine, have read law books inside out to know their rights and what they can and can't be told to do on the streets by the police, and whether they have to give their name up, whatever.
In this country, it's a big risk. You can do it, but you being caught, you probably gonna go court, and you can go jail for a year, for 2 years. I know people they've been on jail for graffiti. They record everything you does illegally. So when they catch you, they're gonna show you all the stuff you done, and you're gonna pay for all of them. So you're gonna pay for thousands and thousands of things.
Mr. Sens sits at an interesting place in the divide between graffiti and street art. He is a graffiti artist, but his work also incorporates many elements of street art, and a good number of people don't know what to call him. This position of his allows him to look at some of the issues currently surrounding street and graffiti art, and some of the clashes of culture that take place.
One of the main issues, I think, is because street art is quite a new kind of culture, that a lot of the old school graffiti artists kind of resent the fact that young people haven't put in the kind of years kind of practicing and learning their craft and skill, and they're just coming straight out of, say, art college, putting a stencil on the wall and expecting recognition, you know. Graffiti art has got a lot of kind of, it's got a kind of code of conduct, as it were, you know, because it's an old culture, so there's respect, basically, like about going over people's work and about being original.
Street artists don't really understand our system and etiquette and codes of about how you go over people, and how people have gone out to either take that spot, and they've really overcome a lot of odds to paint at night and run the risks, you know, and acquire those materials. You know, it might have taken 3 nights to do one spot, and someone just comes and goes over it. It's really offensive. And people, you know, because street art's a newer thing, they're kind of coming into our territory or onto our walls, and people don't really understand this.
It's clear that a misunderstanding is taking place somewhere. Many of the street artists see the wall as a constantly evolving canvas, something that changes from day to day, whereas many graffiti artists see it as a place of permanence, somewhere to put up work and keep it up for a while.
It's temporary, it's transitory, nothing's meant to last, it's there for a while and then it's gone, and that helps the process of moving the whole scene on.
I used to take it very personally at first, but then I realized, of course, it's the process of the street, and you don't own the street, you don't own the wall or the piece of wood that you've been painting on, so it's kind of normal that it will happen.
If you go over people's plots, if you climbed up on a rooftop, you know, if you start going over them, then it's war. You've got war, you've got beef. I'd say we're nice guys, but there are other writers out there, they just do graffiti for fun, but they're much more hardcore criminals, and they'll have a bit of fun just beating someone up and terrorising them, you know. It's just a laugh to them.
Probably the best example of this took place a few years ago. Back in the 80s, King Robbo was one of the best graffiti artists around, and one of his spots was under the Canal Bridge in Camden. In 2009, Banksy showed up and painted over Robbo's work that had been up there for over 20 years. Robbo, who had retired by then, reappeared and took control of the wall again. Banksy retaliated, and the battle escalated with different artists taking sides. This incident, which created a war between the two sides, is perhaps the biggest indicator as to the differences between the mindset of street and graffiti artists.
Basic kind of rule with going over a piece of artwork is that you've got to burn it. So basically you've got to do better than the artwork underneath, man. If you're going to take something out, you can't take out a full colour piece with something in black and white, you know? So you've got to, you know, got to kind of be good enough to take out the person underneath, man. You know, that's the basic rule. Yeah, so there's a bit of resentment, you know. So there's a lot of tagging of street art which goes on, and there is a big divide. But as I said before, essentially, you know, with your street artist or graffiti artist, whatever you want to call yourself, if you're painting on walls, you're doing the same thing. You're getting your artwork out there for the public, and you're trying to make a name for yourself. So essentially, you know, graffiti art is about fame. Yeah, it's about getting your work out there all over, all city, you know, as many people seeing it. So street artists are trying to do the same thing, but maybe with an image rather than a tag.
But I think for me, good art, it should be, you know, to make something beautiful, but also to say something, not to impose nothing. It's just to make people think a little bit, you know.
Like people, they go and play football. People, they go into the pub. We just go into the wall, we do peace, we talk, have some fun, oh look at that, look at this, blah blah. You take the photo and that's it. That's just a good time with your friends.
The artwork on the wall never tells the whole story. It only shows a glimpse into the life of the person who put it there. For some, like Snow and other graffiti artists, it's a glimpse into the working class life. For from the council estates and back streets of London, where you did what you could to get by. For others, like Jonesy, it's a glimpse into the job that spilled its way onto the street, a platform for raising awareness for the issues facing humanity. Whatever it is, both graffiti artists and street artists, different as they may seem, all share their roots in the New York teenagers scribbling their names onto the sides of trains and buildings 40 odd years ago. That means everything from the tags on the bathroom walls, to the intricate artwork of Mr. Sens, to the mushrooms on the tops of buildings. It's all connected, all part of one immense and intricate culture.